All right, this is about $5 trillion invested in Bitcoin and why Michael Saylor and others are concerned about where Bitcoin is going and what major corporations are buying into it. Here goes.
First public traded company on NASDAQ. That is going to be our main topic of today, and now let's jump right into it. Now, before we're going to get started and jump into that absolutely amazing interview with Pompliano and Michael Saylor, we have to talk about inflation once again. Inflation is real. It does not just happen with the US dollar. Obviously, it happens harder for other currencies out there because they are not the world's reserve currencies. The example you're seeing right now is the Venezuelan bolivar. People are manufacturing handbags right now out of the Venezuelan bolivar because the money is worth nothing anymore, or close to nothing anymore. So it is worth more to produce handbags out of the paper bills compared to going to the store and buy food, for example. And for those people out there who still believe that this is an exception, think again. It already happened multiple times in the history of mankind. 1923, for example, the Deutsche Reichsmark. People actually had to go to the store with big boxes, with big piles of cash to buy bread. That was also one of the reasons why, well, politics in Germany went, let's put it that way, in a direction we never want to see it again on this planet. But the lesson in here is that fiat currencies only have an average lifespan of 27 years. Most of us have maybe never seen
27 years, so the American dollar, because it's a world currency, and by the grace of God and other things, it has survived way past 27 years.
a currency dying, but we will, that's for sure. And if you still don't believe that, once again, check this graph, the rise and fall of the US dollar. 100 US dollars in 1913 is currently only worth, or was last year, 2019, only worth less than $4. That means that the
So, $100 in 1913 is currently only worth $3.87. Unreal. Unreal. But I'm going to put 100 or 200 more into Bitcoin and it'll be worth more.
purchasing power of one US dollar, or of US dollars in general, diminished by more than 96% in a little bit over 100 years. And once again, if you still believe, well, that's in the past and our monetary policy right now is 100% up to date and we don't have those issues anymore, well, just look what's going on. Here, for example, we see the Turkish lira compared to the US dollar. Once again, other currencies than the world reserve currency obviously are melting away faster because they are all getting compared with the world reserve, which currently still is the US dollar, not backed by anything anymore, not even back to gold anymore, and you can see what's happening right now. If you would have held the Turkish lira, well, you would kind of be broke, or you would have gotten broke over the last 10 years. But not just for the Turkish lira, also for the Argentine peso. We have been following this chart for quite a while as well. Currencies around the world are falling compared to the US dollar, but as we have seen already, the US dollar itself is also losing purchasing power. So we have been talking about inflation a lot. And what people are saying right now is, but Sonny, we do not really see inflation right now because goods are not really going up. You're right. Goods right now are not really going up in price yet. They're not going up in price yet. We do not have a price inflation yet. I mean, of course, over time, we have that, right? I mean, you can just ask your grandma, for example, how much they paid for a piece of bread back in their days, compare that to where we are right now. So you see inflation right there, right? But it's not that tomorrow you go into the store and everything is 10% more expensive and then 1 week later it's 5% more expensive. We're not seeing price inflation yet. But what kind of inflation we're seeing already is an asset inflation. Look at gold, for example. Look at stocks, for example. Look at real estate, for example. Look at silver, for example. Look at Bitcoin, for example. All these assets have been growing and growing and growing over the last couple of years. Not just over the last couple of years, also over the last decades. And why is that? Well, exactly because of that visualization right here. Even the world reserve currency is losing value. And now we're coming to the most important part and the good part of this episode, and that is the interview. Here, Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, in an interview with Pump. And he is explaining that big companies out there, they kind of have an obligation right now to their investors, to their shareholders, to save their assets or to save their cash from inflation. Because if there is asset inflation out there, but you are holding cash, well, you're going to fall behind. And in our competitive and capitalistic world as a big company, you don't want to fall behind. You owe it to your shareholders that you stay competitive and that your money, your cash is not just melting away. Now listen carefully what Michael Saylor has to say about this. This is absolutely mind-blowing. This is not me saying that. This is a CEO with a net worth of approximately 700 million US dollars with a company that is traded, publicly traded on the NASDAQ exchange, who invested more than 400 million US dollars in Bitcoin lately.
The other point, right, that's not lost upon me is there's 3,500 publicly traded companies. There's $5 trillion in their treasuries, and it's all melting. And yeah, at some point, you have a fiduciary obligation to not lose the money. Okay? Yeah, like it used to be acceptable to be conservative, but that was before the asset inflation rate went from 6% to 30%. You know, when the inflation rate goes to 30%, it's not necessarily something you can ignore. So I think that a lot of people are getting catalyzed right now. I think it has to be kind of CEO, CFO led, right? Because it is an innovative thing. But I think that that we've shown people how to do it, you know, and we've shown them that it's possible and straightforward. And once it's like anything, if I tell you it's possible, go figure it out on the internet or go figure it out on YouTube. You can figure it out yourself, right? All you got to know is that it's possible. You know, it's possible to run 52 miles in a single day. Go figure it out. You're going to go Google 52 miles in a single day, and then all of a sudden fall down the rabbit hole. So I think people now know it's possible, but I don't think you can expect them to move in less than 6 months reasonably in a year.
By the way, if you are interested in listening or watching this full podcast, it's very interesting. It's 1 hour and 24 minutes. The link is popping up on top of the screen right now. Definitely make sure to check it out. And big shout out in here to the YouTube channel from Anthony.
Yeah, we're going to end it here. But what he's saying is so crucial is that there's $5 trillion in cash assets in major corporations just in the United States, and at least. And they have an obligation, a financial obligation, to use that money assets better and not just let it melt with inflation. Think about that. $5 trillion in Bitcoin investments or other investments, they're going to be pushing that way before next year's out. You're either going to lead or be left behind. And once this starts happening, Bitcoin will grow exponentially. Probably faster than it has ever grown, because they will pump money into those assets, cash assets into that, to help shear up their investments and stock portfolios. That's already happening. It's already started. It's just a matter of who else is going to jump on the bandwagon next year. It's Roger Mark from Billings, Montana. Something to think about. $5 trillion in cash assets with major corporations in the United States and more. Where are they going to put that so the money doesn't melt away by inflation? Good day.